I have to start off with a little disclaimer. I've kind of changed my topic a little bit due to some source issues. And so what I have here is basically the foundation of my ideas, or what I've done so far. So this is basically kind of the foundation of what I have. So what I want to start off with today is taking you to look at this medical student. The question I ask you is, would you trust a surgeon with your life if they've had basically no practice or no previous practice with surgery? Chances are no. And so what I ask is, why are we trusting the future of our kids, or our children's education, with teachers that have had basically no experience in the classroom? So what this led me to was to look at student teaching and teacher professional development. So basically looking at pre-service teachers or teacher candidates, which are grad students in education, and looking at teaching them or training them in real life situations in real classrooms. So what I looked at are the traditional trend of first year teaching and effectiveness, the disconnect between theory and practice in teacher training and development, and then the application of real life experience to actual first year training. So first I'd like to start talking about the inexperience of first year teachers. In the current model of teacher training, we usually use the sink or swim. Basically, you throw out first year teachers and then see how they perform. And usually the ones that can adequately handle this challenge stay and are successful, and the ones that can't really do it as well basically are unsuccessful, and yet they still stay. And one of the statistics that I found to be startling was this graph. As you can see here, we have the proportion of classrooms on the left, and on the y-axis, or on the x-axis, we have the change in percentile of average student ranking. And what this shows is that first-year teachers, which is the dashed line, actually show a negative effect on the average student percentile, meaning that in their first year of teaching, they actually decrease a student's ranking within the classroom and actually decrease the knowledge that the student gains. And this correlates with my research in showing that first-year teachers actually get through less than a year's worth of curriculum in their first teaching experience, meaning that they cover a full year less of material than their second and third year teaching counterparts. This has led to drastic frustrations, as you can imagine, among first year teaching professionals. And what actually happens is that 35% of first year teachers actually quit after their first year. And this is due to curriculum issues. They don't feel that their training has adequately prepared them to handle the different sort of classroom challenges, being that different learning experiences, quiet students, and basically the challenges that come along with actually being in a real classroom. One of the faults that I found with first year teaching training is that they often use simulations, but those simulations aren't actual classrooms, and they're basically sort of a preschool or a kiddie version of what they actually experience in real life classrooms. And so that brings me to the disconnect between theory and practice. A couple of things that I found wrong with the current model of teacher development is that there's inadequate candidate placement, meaning that teachers are basically just being sent to schools without being adequately matched with their subject, content, or the type of learning environments that they prefer to work in. Basically, if a school has an opening, universities are just sending them to that school without basically without a certain sort of aptitude test or a certain pair matching. Another issue is fragmentation. This is to say that the courses that they're being taught, or the skills that they're being taught, are not being taught in order or in a logical way. That means that a teacher is learning how to prepare curriculum in one class, and then maybe a quarter later learning the best way to apply to different student learning types. So there's basically no sort of no clear definition of what the teacher is supposed to achieve, and there's no way for them to apply this immediately. And then finally, there's a disconnect between theory and practice. Along with the schools not pair matching the candidates adequately, they've also found that the majority of teaching mentors don't actually know what the candidate is learning in class, and so they can't provide feedback on the certain skills that they're supposed to be learning. And also the university professors aren't familiar with the classes that these candidates are being sent to, so they can't make any suggestions on how to improve or provide any sort of feedback of how to improve teaching. Oh, there we go. And one of the most startling statistics I found is that 54% of the schools in New York public schools actually only require some bit of teaching experience as the only requirement for teacher mentors. That means that a mentor can basically have 1 year of experience and then mentor a teacher that's basically their same age or basically their same skill set. The next statistic I found was that only 14% of New York public schools actually require that the mentor be fully qualified. That means that they have at least 3 years of teaching experience, have been shown to work well with adults, and have measurable student achievement. That means that they're actually effective as a teacher. And then the last statistic is that only one state in the United States requires that the teacher mentor be selected solely on the purpose of student achievement. Basically, teachers aren't being mentored by effective teachers themselves and are, in effect, picking up bad teaching habits or aren't really learning effective ways to be a teacher. And then the last point I have is application. So, as I alluded to earlier, the best way to learn teaching is actually student teaching in a real-life classroom, so you can learn the different nuances and challenges that come along with being in front of a real group of students. And what I found with this is that a lot of times current teacher programs are using simulation with other students, so that means that another colleague is pretending to be a rowdy student, or another colleague is pretending to be an angry parent at a parent-teacher conference. And teachers are having to deal with that in a simulated way. But there's no substitution for real-world experience and real-life application. And then the next point I'm going to put is reflection and sort of reflective learning. And then that's the end of my slide. That's the end of what I've covered so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.